And joining me now, Australian Strategic Policy Institute Senior Analyst Malcolm Davis. Malcolm, great to see you again. Look, is this concerning that the Albanese government knew about this security threat from Russia, that they wanted more military long-range missiles on Indonesian territory, but they kept it from Australians?
Well, it is concerning, but it's not surprising in the sense that the government would not want to talk about such a development because it would completely undermine their policy of essentially a drift forward in defence spending up to around 2.3% by 2033. You know, if you've got Russia deploying long-range bombers that are nuclear capable a mere 1,300 kilometres north of Darwin, that would really send a strong message that the government does need to do a lot more about defence spending. And I'm really getting the strong impression that this government doesn't really want to do anything about defence spending beyond this steady, slow drift upwards to 2.33% by 2033. That's inadequate. It's not good enough. And I think that's the reason why the government really didn't want to talk about Russian bombers operating out of Biak Island.
And perhaps why the Prime Minister wouldn't even mention the word threat last night when it came to China, yet we have seen very clear aggression from China towards our defence personnel. Some have been injured, others at risk of a serious collision. Do you think the sort of response we've seen from the Prime Minister is adequate here? Is this about winning votes?
Look, I think we need to, as a nation, we need to understand that Australia is in a pre-war period. We are in a period leading up to a major confrontation in our region, potentially within this decade, between China and the United States over Taiwan. And I think that the Australian government, the current Australian government, has not done enough to prepare the nation for that contingency if it should emerge in the next 2 to 3 years' time. And I think that for the government and for the Prime Minister to essentially say, look, it's important to have balance and it's important to maintain stabilisation.
Can I just pick you up on that? Sorry to interrupt, Malcolm, but can I just pick you up on that? I mean, the thinking has been, as you say, that China could be making a move in Taiwan in the next 2 to 3 years. That's been around. But now there's the question of whether Donald Trump would come to Taiwan's defence at all, and even the extent to which the United States would come to Australia's aid. I believe America would come to Australia's aid, but certainly it's not conclusive that the US would back in Taiwan. And so it might allow, you know, China's continued rise in the region.
Well, let's look at those two scenarios. I mean, I think there are people in the Trump administration that would strongly support the US intervening to defend Taiwan. And if the US did that, then the US would expect us to step up and support the United States and other allies, including Japan and the Philippines. And so we would find ourselves in a war with China. If, on the other hand, you have the scenario where the Trump administration chooses not to support Taiwan and basically China is allowed to take Taiwan unfettered, then you have an emboldened, aggressive China that can start to push further outwards into Asia, including towards our direction. And I think either scenario is bad, but I think the second scenario is worse because you don't have that US support.
Indeed. All right, Malcolm, and I've got to commend you on your fashion choice. We're matching in maroon or Merlot. You're in the colour of the season. Thanks for your time.
Indeed. Thanks, Sharri.